Hey YouTube, this is The Art of Prepping. So I get a lot of comments, especially in my personal life. So do you think there's going to be a collapse later in 2016, maybe early 2017, or at least throughout the year of 2017? I don't know, people. There's a lot of things that could happen. I think it would be very realistic that it could happen with all the craziness going on, the imbalance of the markets. But to specifically say that there's going to be a real whopper of a crash, a 60 to 80% pullback in the markets and overall, I'd say that there's a pretty good likely chance. I'd say it's probably a 60 to 70% chance for me personally that I would believe that within the next year. But probably more realistically, though, we're going to probably have a series of pullbacks. And they may be in stages, and it could be somewhat gradual, but I guess we'll see, pretty soon enough. I'm not sure if it's going to even really matter who gets in for the presidency, because I think they're both, they're both Democrats in disguise. They're both people that are going to give the elite and the bankers and everything that they want. So I don't think this is going to be any surprise to those in power, because they put those puppets into play. And so overall, should you be prepared for an economic collapse? Of course, but you should always be prepared anyway. So unless you're just preparing for something totally different, maybe you just live in a very isolated area and you get like really bad snows, and you just kind of, only thing you prep for is snow emergencies or ice emergencies, then obviously then you may want to go, okay, well, what are some things I can add for a contingency for an economic collapse, or at least maybe a collapse of assets or commodities or derivatives? Well, how's that going to affect me? And look at those options there. But overall, though, you should just have, a general prepper's mentality. Definitely have certain things that happen to you, prepared. I mean, I'm not saying you can't have specifics. There's a lot of people on YouTube that try to say that, oh, preppers just only have like one or two focuses on prepping or type of events, for example, like a hurricane or tornado, depending on where you live. And that's it. Well, I really don't think so. I think that there are a lot of preppers that are just general preppers. I think I am more of a general prepper. I mean, where I live, there's about maybe 4 to 5 things that can happen realistically, and that do happen from time to time, that are a great threat to me, and it could be, this is just an example. I'm not saying this is the actual ones for me, but, like a tornado, a hurricane. It could be something on the nature of maybe a bad snowstorm, ice storm, blizzard. It could be maybe a train derailment, and there could be a toxic release from a train, something of that nature. And so with that taken into account, what we have here is just trying to understand what are the threats first in your area and to prep for those. But there's also those secondary things that we have really no control over that are much, much wider in scope, such as an economic collapse, an EMP type of explosion, grid down situations, pandemics. There's those real big categories of prepping, and then there's those kind of more specific, narrow-minded, categories. And I think, though, that when we talk about economic collapse, it really is a big bubble category, but it'll affect everybody. Everybody's affected. So it's not going to be just you, but because it does affect everyone in so many different ways, you kind of have to kind of see in your particular situation how it affects you. If you have a lot of stocks and bonds, well, it's going to affect you a lot more than a homeless person, Now, you could say, well, maybe the homeless person wouldn't get as much help or charity because people don't have as much because their net worth is lower. That could be true, too. So everybody is pretty much going to be affected, but on different ways and manners. So if you just have a lot of stocks and bonds and you don't sleep well at night, maybe you need to diversify out of some of that. Maybe you need to try other types of investments. Maybe you should just take some out, and then beef up your emergency fund. I don't know. All I can tell you is that you have to know and do what you think and feel is the right thing for you. I'm no financial advisor. I definitely have some knowledge on the subject, but when it comes down to it, you have to be your own advisor on a lot of these things. And you have to use your common sense, and you have to do your research on what you feel like you need to do. So don't be afraid to ask questions to people in the know. Don't be afraid to explore all your options, because you may find that a combination of options are going to be better than just one single option. So instead of just taking all your money out of stocks and bonds for retirement, for example, maybe you just take about 1/3 of it out. And that 1/3 you diversify among 3 different assets. Maybe you buy some precious metals. Maybe you buy more food and water for the other one. And the third little category that you break that up could be something like maybe some more barter items, barter and trade items if you ever needed to do that. Things that don't really go down in value but tend to go a little bit up every year. So those are just some ideas. Hopefully that was helpful, and I'll catch you real soon.